Good evening, everyone. Go ahead, get in here now. We're going to start in about 45 seconds. Go ahead and share this with your friends and your family, your educators. We're going to have a really good conversation tonight, but I'm not going to hold you long. I'll be back shortly. Go ahead, share the live right now. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Teacher Talks. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. I'm excited about this evening's topic. This was actually one I was going to cover last week. I didn't get a chance to, but it did give me more time to kind of ponder over this particular conversation that I want to have with you guys this evening. So go ahead, get in here. If you have not shared the live, go ahead and share it right now. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and on LinkedIn. This is a safe space for educators to come in and have a real conversation about topics that really are reserved for teachers, students, leaders, and all stakeholders who believe in the power of education. Education matters. I'll never stop saying it. I'm going to continue to shout it from the rooftop. So get in here right now. It is Thursday. It is almost Friday, people. You have almost made it. I hope you've had a great week so far. If not, you can have a great weekend and make up for the last 5 days as the fifth day approaches very, very shortly. Now, as always, it is after 9 o'clock. Hopefully, your young ones are down because it's time for the adults to catch up. As always, I have my trusty Teacher Talks mug here. Tonight, I am drinking coffee. It's late. You're like, why are you drinking coffee at like 9:30, 9:45? Because I can, and it's my business. And whatever you have in your cup, there's no judgment here because why? That's your business. So I'm excited to have you guys in here tonight. We're going to talk about, are you holding on or hanging on to old habits? We're talking about progressing and growing through professional development so we can reach and increase student achievement. That's what we're talking about tonight. Here's to you. Cheers to you. Thank you guys for watching. Now, when I think about this topic, this takes me back several years. So for those of you that don't know, I am an educational consultant and I travel around speaking to teachers and leaders and districts about how I can help them make that turn around the corner to really increase what teachers are able to do in terms of capacity and how much students know and how they can translate that into academic achievement gains on standardized assessments or any kind of state, local assessments that they give students, right? The goal is that students are learning and that learning should be reflected in their scores. No matter what, we should see them scoring, we should see them going, we should also see teachers doing the same thing, increasing capacity year after year after year after year. But the question now lies that I had to wrestle with myself is, what happens when you don't see that growth? What happens when you don't experience those student gains? What is the cause of that? And so for those of you that are really working in the area of school improvement and change, you have to ask yourself, what are you still hanging on to that you won't just let go? What practices are you still doing that aren't working for you, but you continue to do them for some odd reason. What belief systems do you have about teachers or students that are unrealistic and that are not healthy to really fostering achievement, growth, and academic success? That's the thing you have to ask yourself, because whatever that thing is, that is the one thing that you are continuing to hang on to, and it is not producing anything productive for you. It's not helping you meet your goals. It's not aligned to your desires. So why are we doing it? Or why do we do it? That's the question. It's time to take that hanger off of the habit. Take the hanger off the habit, because it's not serving you any purpose. You no longer can wear it. It doesn't fit. Tweet that. Take the hanger off the habit, because it no longer fits. It doesn't fit what you think. It doesn't fit what you believe. It doesn't fit where you want to go. It doesn't fit the mindset of where you currently are. So it's time to let go of these old habits, these old beliefs, these old practices, these old mindsets. Sometimes these old relationships, they've got to go. Take them off the hanger so we can find something new to put on that hanger that fits you where you are in this current space in your life. So what I always think about is when I first got into education, and this is not going to be a real big story time, but I think I have to share a little bit. When I first started teaching, there were some things that I was doing for the first 2 years that were not working in my favor. If they weren't working in my favor as the educator, guess what? They also were not working in the favor of my students, right? I had really high aspirations. Like, this is what they're going to do. And they're going to do it because I did X, Y, and Z. And simply because I did my part, the assumption was that the learning was going to automatically take place. That didn't happen. Do you need an example? I'm more than welcome to give you an example. So one of my biggest habits was really providing direct instruction on a consistent basis, but extended through the whole class period. Why did I do that? Why was I teaching the whole block? If you don't know about a block is an hour and a half of instruction. And that whole hour and a half was literally me. I was talking, asking questions intermittently throughout the conversation. I say conversation, I was the only one talking because there really was no real conversation. It was just talking to them, asking questions, trying to get them somewhat involved. As I saw the drowsiness come over their bodies, I saw the sleeping spirits take over my students. But I continued to talk because I felt like if I continued to say the verbiage, if I continued to use vocabulary, if I continued to use context that I thought that they could connect to, that it somehow through diffusion would transfer into that brain of theirs and then be activated on a quiz or a test. Makes sense, right? Wrong. Did not work, never worked. And I really learned that what I was doing was not healthy. But it took me a good half of a semester to do so, like 4 or 5 months. I was doing the same thing, thinking I was going to get a different outcome. No, I got the same outcome time after time after time. Why? I was hanging on to a habit that was not healthy and that was not producing the desires that I really had for myself or for my students. So how do you get out of these habits? How do you get out of behaving and believing certain ways that are not healthy for you? Well, these are just some quick tips that I'm going to share with you that I hope help you in your work. Again, you can always reach out to me. You can check out the website. I have my contact information there. It is www.fullyengaged.ed. Fully Engage Ed. That's ENGAGEED.com. You can reach out to me there, email me, call me. I would love to hear from you and share with you any of my experiences if they can be beneficial to you. Or if you're looking for somebody to come into your school or your district to support your work, to really drive change, give me a call. I would love to offer any support and advice that I can and create a partnership with you so that I can help you achieve whatever goals that you have. So, number one, change is not a passenger. Change has to be the driver. So I want you to think about what it is that you want to do. Is that thing a priority? Anything that's a priority, then I should be able to see it, witness it, feel it in your policies and in your decisions. It should be visible. It should be written. It should be communicated. It should be clear, and it should be implemented. Excuse me, consistently. Change cannot be the passenger. Change has to be the driver. Your change, if it's that important to you, cannot take a back seat to other things that are happening in your building, to other things that are happening in your district. Yeah, things happen. You have to address them, you have to deal with them. But the thing that you're desiring to impact the most, student achievement, for example, cannot take a back seat, sit in the passenger seat, let's say, to student behavior. It can't take a back seat to adult comfort. It can't take the passenger seat to the loyalty you have to relationships because you work with people for a very long time. That doesn't drive change. It is the passenger of something else. If you want to create change, let it drive what you do. And things that are important to you should be clearly seen in your policies and in your decisions. I'm going to type that. Number one, change cannot be the passenger, but must be. All right. That's my first tip. And I had to learn that the hard way. You know, I was trying to drive change, but in essence, it wasn't the passenger. I was doing what I thought was right and what I was comfortable doing, right? So that's why I wasn't seeing outcomes on student assessments. I wasn't even seeing student practice. And I was not satisfied with the outcomes that they were giving me. And when you become so unsatisfied, then you will do something different. If not, you're going to continue to get what you've always gotten. And for many times, for me, it was low level learning. And those scores were always, always abysmal. They just were not, they did not equate to the time and energy that I was putting into creating these long, lavish, very animated PowerPoints with music and videos. I was putting in a lot of time and a lot of work, but that was not producing anything in terms of student understanding, nothing at all. All of the learning was very, very low level, DOK1, maybe recall if that. But that my students were not able to critically think past anything that I had given them, right? And they can't pass tests that way. They can't live life that way. You have to be a critical thinking, be able to use examples from what you know to apply to a new context in order to be successful. My students were not able to do that. And when I transitioned out of the classroom, I took that skill and that understanding with me to support teachers in other roles across the state and across the district and across the nation. Even in my work as a dissertation, that work was driven by creating change. And that change was one, seen in policy. So how can I support you in understanding and driving policy that's clearly stated? The first thing is, once you understand it, you have to make it a priority in your implementation. And it has to be consistently communicated and consistently implemented in order for it to be effective. Not compliant, but for it to be effective. So, number one, change cannot be the passenger. Change must be the driver. Now, when you think about that, we're going to stay on the idea of change. That's important because change dictates the direction and the destination. And why is that? I've already said, because whatever that is written, right? It's very clearly stated as a priority. And you're going to monitor that for clarity and you're going to monitor that for consistency. So it's going to drive where you're trying to go, but it's also going to drive how you're going to get, because you are going to have a plan to get to your desired destination for students and for teachers, for leaders, for schools, for states, for districts, for agencies, you've got to clearly understand the goal. Let change drive what you're doing. Let it dictate the destination and also dictate the direction. Now, I've got a couple of points here, and I'm not going to type these in, but I will say it. When you have this very, very, very clear idea of change, it's going to include some checkpoints. So remember, we're talking about direction, we're talking about destination. You're going to include in there checkpoints because you're monitoring it. So you want to make sure that you're still going in the right direction. You're going to have to also create opportunities for refueling, because you don't want it to get old, you don't want it to get stale, you don't want the change to get boring. You've got to refuel. You also need to have opportunities for rest and celebration, because if people are doing the work, they need to be recognized and celebrated for creating or being a part of that change. You also need to identify roles and responsibilities. Why is that important? Because you are not doing this by yourself, right? If you're a teacher, you're leading a class by yourself, you have a whole classroom full of students that are involved in this process. If you are a leader in a school, you're not doing the work. You should not be thinking about doing the work by yourself. You have a building of teachers and students that are collaborators in the process. They are your stakeholders. They are your partners in achievement. Don't leave them out. Okay. And also, again, clear communication, and you want to make sure that there is clarity happening in the building. All right. So let's go back. If we're going to hang up some of these old habits that are not driving success in our buildings, they're not creating student achievement. Number one, the thing that you have to do is understand that change cannot be the passenger. Change has to be the driver. Don't put it in the back seat. Priority, so much of a priority that I can clearly see it in your plans and in your policies. Number two, once you have a clear understanding of that change and the need for change, guess what? Let that change dictate your destination, and also let it dictate the directions that you're going to take in order to get there. And I just went through this whole list of things you're going to do, right? You're going to have checkpoints. You're going to have opportunities for refueling. You're going to have opportunities for celebrations. You're going to also create roles and responsibilities. You're going to have clear communication that you ensure clarity. And guess what? You're going to monitor this thing consistently. As a teacher, you're going to monitor understanding consistently. Why? That drives what you do in terms of instruction to reach the goal or achievement that you have identified. You have to monitor, you have to communicate, bring in those stakeholders, make students a part of the learning experience, not just a process. Make learning an experience. That experience is what gets jogged into their long-term memory, and they're just not recalling, but they're able to apply this information to new contexts. All right. Number one, you want to drive change if you are highly informed, but not highly impactful. I'm going to say this again. People that are highly informed but not highly impactful understand the need for change. Got it? I'm just dropping some nuggets here, just dropping some nuggets. Highly informed people that are not highly impactful understand change has to happen now. And I say that again, go back to my story. You're working. You have all this information, you have all this knowledge, but all of the energy and efforts that you're putting into your work does not reap fruit at the end. That means there's something going on with the way that you're sowing into the work, sowing into the students, sowing into the teachers. If you're sowing, investing, and you're not getting a return, you got to understand at this point, you got to make a change. You got to make a change. All right. That was number two. Let me give you this one really quick. Change resides. outside the realm of comfortability. Let me say that again. Change resides outside of the realm of comfortability. How willing are you to get uncomfortable? How willing are you to get uncomfortable? You can be uncomfortable and still be effective. But it is our need as adults to remain comfortable that creates this very low level, mediocre level of success. And yeah, let's say you're at 80% achievement, right? That's great. But if you've been there for the last 7 years with very little growth, how impactful are you in driving the needle in an upward direction? No, you're resting on old success. And that level of success could possibly have nothing to do with you. Okay. If you have very highly informed students that have experiences in life, those students do well oftentimes without a good teacher. They could have a horrible teacher and they still produce. You could have horrible leadership, but highly effective teachers. The success of the school is not driven by the leader, it's driven by the teachers because they're doing the work because they have the skill. But how are you enhancing their skills? How are you exposing kids to more than they have already seen or experienced to create a higher level of experience and understanding to drive that change, right? Push the needle. Advancement, enlargement, expanding opportunities. That's what we want to do. But we can only do that if we step outside of that realm of comfort and take a risk on change. Okay. Change. This is another big one. This is a big one. Change will require your honesty. Change will require your honesty. And many times, some of us are not honest with ourselves. We tell ourselves half truths. We tell ourselves lies. To be honest with you, about who we are, what we do, and our capabilities. So we got to start being honest with ourselves, and that's going to start when you decide what you want to do. Right? Where am I trying to go? What do I really see happening in the next year for my students and my teachers? And ask yourself, can I do this by myself? And then the next question is, how am I going to do this? One, because I have the idea for the change, right? It's going to dictate the destination and the direction. It's also going to dictate who gets on this journey or who is on this journey with you and what the roles would be. But you've got to be honest. You got to be honest with yourself. And you have to be honest to say, over the last couple of years, I've been kind of lazy. I've been resting on past success. We haven't had a push in great gains or student achievement in the last 4 or 5 years. But because we're performing better than everybody in the district, or I'm performing everybody in my school, I haven't really challenged myself. That happens when you're honest and you become reflective of your practices. And then you dictate and determine that I'm not being the best version of myself, and I'm not giving my school or my students or the district the best I have to offer. I haven't learned a new skill in forever. I haven't been to P, I haven't been to any type of training. I don't have new certifications. I don't have new understanding, new skills. My toolkit is having or has the same tools in it it's had for years. It's not effective, right? It's time for change. Step outside of the realm of comfort. Be honest with yourself, right? Because you can be highly and not highly impactful. And that could be because you're not being honest and you're way too comfortable. The next thing is, when you think about achievement and success, you can't rest on chance. You can't rest on chance. It is not, well, this will happen likely if. This is not slot machines. This is not blackjack. We're not just rolling the die. That's not how you drive change. Change does not rest on chance. It just doesn't. And so you see that often. I've definitely seen it. And so in my work, even if people aren't honest with themselves, I have no problem being honest with them on my own, because I want to be very transparent about what I see. And even if you're not really willing to make that step to get to that level of success, you can't say someone did not try to help you, did not try to tell you, that somebody was not honest with you. And that is something that I would have never been comfortable doing 10 years ago. I was just not that person. But the passion that I have for students overrides any fear that I have for talking to adults, because I think about the faces of the students that sit in those chairs, and these aren't just numbers to me, right? When I go and I work with students and work with schools, I pull a lot of data. I'm just looking at numbers, percentages, but those numbers for me are human lives, are individuals that have produced this outcome. And when the level of achievement is very, very low, I think about all of those faces represented in that 77% below proficiency, or that 90% below mastery, right? That is sad for me. It hurts my feelings. And so that motivates me to support you in creating change. Why? Because I believe it can happen, right? I haven't lost the faith. I believe, but we've got to make some honest decisions about who we are and what we can do, and then where we're going to go through change. Hanging on to old habits, it's not healthy. We've got to take the hanger off the habit, because it no longer fits where we're trying to go. It no longer fits what we want to do. It no longer fits what we believe. Old habits create unhealthy lifestyles in schools, in districts, in your classroom. So I'm encouraging you all, let the habit go. Yeah, I know it's hard. I know it's uncomfortable, but is it worth it to create the change that you want to see in yourself, the change you want to see in teachers, or the change that you want to see in students? And I would venture to say that it is worth the risk. Throw away the idea of chance. Drive success through change. That is all I have for you guys this evening. Thank you so much for watching. If you don't watch this live, of course, you can catch it on YouTube. When you catch it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Of course, what I'm trying to do, I am still trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, you may say, oh, I have a lot of people that I watch on YouTube, on Instagram, that I follow on Twitter, that have way more than 1,000 subscribers. Well, guess what? Many of those people aren't having these conversations about education. And what am I trying to do? I say this all the time. I'm simply trying to make education sexy, right? It is a sexy topic. It is a very salacious things that are happening in schools with adults and students, but it's also very sad, and it's worth making it a priority in our daily lives and in our conversations with our friends, our families, our children. If we want to see them be successful, then we've got to make educational conversations a part of what we do consistently. I am just a teacher that likes to talk, and this is a safe space where we get a chance to get together and have conversations centered around things, all things education. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. Remember, go over to YouTube, Fully Engaged Education. Help a brother out. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. Many of you are watching all the time, but I'm not seeing that translate into actual numbers. So I would appreciate your support. I would appreciate your likes. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your sharing, but I would most definitely appreciate if you would simply go and click that subscription button and share with me your thoughts, and then share this with some friends. Remember, we're trying to get to 1,000. I appreciate you guys. I've got people on here. Remember, if you're watching, give me a shout out. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you're watching from. I didn't even give anybody any shouts out today. I'm sorry. I kind of got going once I went live. So give me a shout out. Tell me who you are, where you're watching from, so I can tell you thank you for watching. And make sure you come back next Thursday. We start around 9 o'clock ish. If I get the kids down on time, we start right on time at 9. If not, we start just a little bit later. But thank you guys for always tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. I really, really, really appreciate you guys so much, more than you know. And we're going to continue to drive this ship along because we're trying to make a difference. And I think I've got some people who want to help me make a difference in education. So until then, guys, see you. Be blessed, be safe, and I'll see you next. Do you believe in wearing fashions that spread positive messages? Well, Fully Engaged Education now offers merchandise that will do just that. And we are spreading the word that a high-quality education is deserving of every student, everywhere, every day. Fully Engaged Education has now crafted beautifully designed hoodies, sweatshirts, long and short sleeve tees that come in a variety of colors that will be perfect for any season. So go check out Fully Engaged Education and select those beautiful pieces that will be sure to set off any outfit that you plan to wear. Fully Engaged Education is committed to providing information and access to ensure every student can be successful and every student has an opportunity to learn.